Brick imitation. Before showing you the most amazing ways to decorate a facade, let us clarify what a facade is. This term refers to the outer part of a building. It largely determines the appearance of the whole construction, and it's also subject to very high requirements because people usually see the facade of the building first. There are countless building materials that can be used to finish facades. Likewise, there are many techniques and finishing options. The method shown on the screen right now requires carefulness, preciseness, and high skills from the foreman. In addition, the work is laborious and time-consuming. However, top-level workers are not afraid of anything, and that's one of the reasons why you can see them in our videos. The worker uses plaster mortar to imitate brick. The resulting surface is strong, durable, and of course, beautiful. The work is done in several stages. First, plaster is applied to the pre-insulated and leveled wall. The layer is about 5 mm thick, enough to create a relief. The master uses the simplest set of tools, just a plastering float and a spatula. Using the same float, the worker then creates a pattern on the surface of the wet layer. After that, all he has to do is make a markup and form strips that imitate the joints between the bricks. For this, the worker uses a builder level and a 6 mm chisel. Wood imitation. Before it dries, plaster is a liquid, flexible material. These qualities are the reason why craftsmen so often choose it for facade finishing. The surface can have any kind of pattern, therefore the building look will be unique. The only limitations are the designer's imagination. Here, for example, a special plaster is used to create a wood pattern on the facade. The problem is that wood has a very complex natural pattern, which is impossible to recreate with standard tools. That's why workers use a special silicone mold. A huge number of molds with different designs are offered on the market. So, first of all, a layer of plaster is applied to the wall. Then the silicone mold is carefully applied to the wall. As you see, it leaves a wooden-like pattern on the wall. To make the finishing more tidy, the workers apply horizontal and vertical seams to the surface. When the plaster dries out, all that remains is painting it. Kinetic facade. To be a true expert, you don't necessarily have to be quick and skillful when working with your hands. As we've already said, there's a huge number of options for finishing a facade. Sometimes masters are required to do some brain work. A kinetic facade is a relatively new trend in architecture. To be more precise, a kinetic facade is a cladding which, thanks to the power of engineering, is constantly in motion. The most important part of the work is planning and designing. Experts use a computer and special programs to create a layout of the future kinetic facade. When the size of each of the numerous elements of the construction is determined, it's time to bring the idea to life. Each kinetic facade is an intricate interlacing of wires, hydraulic mechanisms, and sensors. The result is a mesmerizing building. Bark imitation. And here is another worker who uses plaster and special tools to create an interesting pattern on the wall. The materials used stand out for their beautiful appearance as well as excellent performance characteristics. Thus, this decorative facade coating will protect the building from negative external factors such as rain and snow. Besides, it protects the building from wind, doesn't let cold air in, and doesn't let warm air out. The decoration is made up of blocks whose surface imitate the appearance of bark. Before starting to work, the worker places adhesive tape on the wall. As you might have guessed, these lines indicate the place of the future joints between the blocks. Then, as usual, a layer of plaster is applied to the wall in a thick layer. The plaster is leveled before creating the pattern. This is necessary to ensure that the material is evenly distributed over the entire surface. The actual pattern is created in 2 stages. First, a textured roller is used to create a relief on the surface. After that, before the plaster dries, the worker smooths the pattern out with a spatula. When the work is done, it's necessary to carefully remove the adhesive tape. The wall almost looks ready, but you still need to paint the surface to create the bark effect. This is made in 2 layers, once the putty is dry. At first, the light brown color evenly covers the entire wall. Then, a dark paint is applied on top. The layer should be light, so the excess paint is left in the tray. Of course, the master doesn't forget to paint the seams as well. Trellis installation. To create a beautiful wall, you don't necessarily have to buy mortar and work with a spatula. Sometimes you just have to let nature do most of the work. However, before creating a green facade, you need to give nature a hand. A trellis is a term that is widely used in gardening. It's an architectural structure made to support and display climbing plants. The workers in this video are installing a trellis. The wooden frame is attached to the wall with nails. Please note that the bottom part doesn't touch the ground, it is so on purpose. The fact is that wood is a delicate material. When it comes into contact with damp soil, it begins to rot. That's why, in order to prolong the life of the trellis, the master sets it above the ground. The worker has to be careful and precise. Even a small mistake can ruin the appearance of the facade. Note that a trellis can be installed on any building in a short time. The design effectively hides any flaws, like uneven walls, and also looks perfect on any building. The worker plants the climbing plant under the trellis. In this case, he uses bushes of clematis and honeysuckle. Long sprouts are attached to the wood with jute. A year later, when the plant has already entangled the grid, the jute will decompose, and there'll be no trace of it. Stone chippings finishing. The last expert we're going to show you today has come up with the idea of using stone chippings to decorate the facade. During the application stage, you can't even imagine that the surface will eventually have a beautiful and original look. But let's see the process in detail. During the preparation of the building materials, a special solution is mixed with stone chippings. These are small stones that are mixed with adhesives. The surface of the wall is plastered beforehand to increase adhesion. Afterwards, the mortar with stone chippings is applied. At first, it looks very similar to the most common concrete mortar. The material is used to create a smooth and even layer. Now the magic finally begins. The master uses water and a sponge to gently wipe the excess solution off the surface. Thus, he exposes the stones, which were firmly fixed by the plaster. When the entire surface is cleaned, the result is an interesting and original finishing.